everybody, this is Ingi from Tarot Ingi, and I'm so excited to talk about Ten of Cups because this card, when I did the drawing of it, I didn't expect it to be such a cute picture. Like, I didn't expect it to turn out so well. But I think with the deck that I'm creating, the polar bear will be like the totem animal of the deck, because the other card that I did that had the polar bear on it, the hermit card, also turned out so great. So now I'm going to redo the chariot, which had a horse and a chariot, and I want to redo the whole thing and do a polar bear and a chariot. Because every time I draw the polar bear, it turns out amazingly. So I must really love polar bears or something. But the energy of the card with the polar bears, like the parents with the kids, that energy, that affection that you can see, that is the meaning of Ten of Cups. It's like the best relationship that you've ever had, the best experience you have within a family unit. Like, it's like a perfect family, a perfect happily ever after. That's Ten of Cups. And once you have it, and it's kind of like stabilized itself at a very high place, like a high vibration. And then there's like it's happiness, it's well-being, it's you're blessed, basically. And there are a lot of ideals tied up into this card as well. So that can be a little bit on the negative, because with these high ideals, sometimes the seeker they want to live this high ideal, and then they're so afraid of anything kind of making it less idealistic. So it's like it has to be perfect all the time. It's almost like it's so good, but then over a longer period of time, they could almost lack or lose a little bit of that ability to deal with things when it's not so idealistic. But this is really the best relationship. Like, if this is a card that represents a relationship, it means it's the best relationship you've ever experienced. But it also will expose some fears as well, because with the Ten of Cups, sometimes people want to live a certain way that's really important to them, that it is a certain specific way, and they just don't want anything ruining this ideal or this flow that they created for themselves. So this is where they can actually start closing themselves off a little bit to the rest of the world. They want peace and harmony, and they don't want any disruption. They want bliss, and they want to be in alignment. And when Ten of Cups, especially if you've been in that energy for a long time, the seeker can often believe that their true nature is aligned with this ideal, but there's more to them that they're not experiencing. And it's like they don't even allow themselves to be human, almost. Like they just need to be perfect. So on the dark side of Ten of Cups, even when it's upright, is that the seeker really feels like everything has to be perfect all the time. And when it is a love reading, this again, it speaks of the best relationship, best compatibility, the best peace, the most peaceful connection, the most harmony. And maybe you feel like you met the perfect partner. If you're single, then the seeker could be waiting for the perfect partner if Ten of Cups shows up. So they might be having such high standards that they end up just waiting for a very long time, because no one can really live up to that. Or maybe they're just not willing to be in a relationship unless it is like a Ten of Cups perfect relationship. In a career reading, Ten of Cups often speaks of a job in the public eye in some way. There is some kind of recognition with Ten of Cups, that there's a bit of spotlight there on the seeker, especially if you get it with the star. Then it could be a public relation job where you could be like in front of the camera, you could be in the media, it could be a fame, or like you become like a public person. It could also speak of creative jobs, especially if you get it with the moon. If you get it with a high priestess, it could be that you're teaching something, but it's a niche, something very specific. and you're creating kind of like a bubble around this niche that makes you feel really safe. Ten of Cups can also mean investing in property and flipping houses and properties. Ten of Cups, if it represents your job, it can mean that you really feel like this is like the perfect job for you. It's a yes, more likely a yes in a yes/no question. When it speaks of feelings, then it's being at peace, and that you're at peace with where you end up in life. If you ask how someone feels about you, then this person feels a strong spiritual connection to you. And if you're in a relationship, then this person might feel like you are their perfect partner and that you have the perfect relationship. And this can speak of you happily ever after. Ten of Cups as a personality is someone spiritually inclined, happy, a positive person. But again, they are working very hard to keep everything perfect and blissful. And that can actually exhaust them on some level that they're not aware of. And it can end up showing up in other areas of their life. Maybe they lose their ability to cope when life suddenly is not so perfect. They really need to have it all, or their happiness is very tied up in having the wonderful relationship and the nice house and job, and that everything is aligned with what they believe is their sole purpose in life. And they really also want life to be quite stress-free. They don't deal with stress that well, and they certainly don't deal with toxic people, and they can get completely overwhelmed when they're around people who have a bit of an edge to them, especially if they're around people who are angry and a bit of abusive in their attitude. They can then, Ten of Cups people then can end up disassociate, and they just want to detach themselves from that. They just don't want anyone to threaten their heaven on earth. So this can actually turn their life into a bit of a limited experience, or a limited. They have a limited worldview in some ways. So they must allow themselves sometimes to just experience life a little bit outside of their bubble. And if they don't, if they refuse to do so, something could happen to shake things up a little bit for them, something a little bit out of the blue, and suddenly they get to see the world from a completely different perspective. These tend then to strengthen them spiritually, so that they just need to be a little bit stronger, because their values, as idealistic as they are, sometimes it's not real. Like, it doesn't always work in real life. They're very romantic people, and they love to idealize their family members, their partner, their kids especially. When Ten of Cups is reversed, it can mean then that there's disruption in harmony, and it's usually due to a person. The seeker has a need to pretend everything is still wonderful and hope that it's gonna be wonderful, or that it's just going to continue being what they want it to be, even if they have to pretend. And they work really hard. So in Ten of Cups upright, the seeker is really willing to work hard to maintain the happiness, but when it's reversed, it's like they're working really hard to maintain the happiness, and it's like a lot of work, a lot of energy. And in the end, as you can see with Ten of Cups, when it's upside down, it just spills out basically. So the moral of Ten of Cups reversed is that less is more. Ten of Cups reversed as a personality type is someone who is pursuing happiness, but it's leaving them unhappy. So it's like it's unfulfilling to pursue happiness. They're usually very lonely people, and it's actually due to their own high standards that it was just too hard to enjoy life. And Ten of Cups people can be hard work, and when it's really negative, it can represent someone who just cannot be trusted. It can be someone who has to manipulate and plays games, and they force their ideals onto others, and they're very judgmental people often. Their ideals leave them often empty and unsatisfied. And it's like they wanted to live the dream, but the dream turned into a nightmare, and they end up trapped. So when Ten of Cups is really negative as a personality type, it's someone who trapped themselves in their ideal, and they don't know how to be happy, and they end up instead being very controlling. That is when it's really negative. But Ten of Cups, when it is a little bit less on the negative, but it's still reversed, it can mean that it's someone who maybe they lost trust. Maybe they used to believe in something, and now they just don't believe in it anymore, and they're just finding their new value system. They're finding out what it is that they want and what they believe in. So it's like they take a step back, and they go back into Nine of Cups actually to find out what was satisfying, what was it that I wanted my life to be, what do I enjoy, because what they pursued, it just didn't turn out the way they wanted, and they needed to go back to something that they know and that is satisfying to them. Now let's have a look in the runes. Is there anything we need to know about Ten of Cups that could be new information or just more in depth? So what I'm getting with here is actually I'm getting Dagas, Hagalas, and Tivas reversed right at the top, and then Dagas is like a new day, but it's at the bottom since the Seeker's already gone through it. Hagalas is like they're worrying, and then Tivas reversed is like that's meant to be a sacrifice that is for the higher good, but when it's reversed, then they do not want to make the sacrifice. And then Vunjo is at the forefront, and that's someone who's very ambitious, very strong. So what it's almost like the Seekers had some kind of like they gone in a new direction, and they ended up somewhere that was better than what they expected, but they're worried and afraid of the past, that it's going to catch up with them, or that they want to reject some part of their old self. So with Ten of Cups, it's almost like they just want to forget about their past. They don't want to really have they don't even want to be reminded of that. They just want to live in the now and in focusing on the future. But if there could be some kind of like, maybe it's very so on the subconscious level, some fears that is stirring, that the old self or the old life is going to manifest in some way and ruin it for the Seeker, and that's what the fear is. Like there's some kind of wanting to reject the past. So with the runes, they're very good at seeing the psychology behind why things are the way they are. So with the cards, even a positive card like Ten of Cups has a little bit of a shadow. And the shadow in Ten of Cups is that the Seeker wants to reject their old self and their old way of life. But maybe a better way would be to embrace it and love yourself. Love that. Maybe it's like you don't want to even look at it, but it's actually part of you as well. It makes you who you are. So if you can love that side, even if it is your shadow side that you want to run away from or hide away from, then if you can love it and embrace it, it will actually make you a better person. It will make you happier. It will make you more grounded, actually. Because with Ten of Cups, it's easy to be ungrounded because you just want to reject all that stuff. So shadow work can be a great way of doing grounding and enjoy Ten of Cups even more so when you're grounded. Alright guys, I look forward to talk about Page of Cups next. Bye guys!